Hello, everybody. My name is Sneaky Snake. Today I'm going to be going over an MO tier list. I recently competed in the IGL tournament. Um, there I was playing MO, and I have won four of my games so far, and I lost my fifth one very recently to a vanilla combined army player who's very good. And it was a very close match. But despite the fact that I lost, I think that I performed very well. I still have one more game. But I just wanted to make this tier list for any new players, anybody who wants to kind of get a good grasp of the units in MO. I probably played about 30 or 40 hours of MO in, or sorry, 30 or 40 games of MO in N5. And yeah, I've really gotten a good feel of the faction, really built a lot of varied lists just to try everything out. So I think I've got a pretty good perspective on how things perform in this faction. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So for my tier list, it's just going to be S, A, B, C, D. So something is S tier. It's something that you might not take every single time, but you could take it every time, just because it's so like efficient, so good. It just offers the faction so much. A tier is very similar. It's a unit that is just very good at whatever it does. And I think that, yeah, there MO has a lot of like A tier units that aren't necessarily like the best in class, but they're pretty good at what they do. B tier is kind of like your mediocre. I feel like a lot of units in this tier can kind of they have something unique that they have to offer, uh, or they might just like be a unit that's not particularly special, but they're not that bad. They can kind of like offer some interesting list building dynamics. And then C tier, I'd probably put as like a unit that is generally not very good, but it does have some solid situational application. And finally, D tier are units that I personally don't think I would ever take, um, just because of, yeah, the way that the unit plays, or maybe a lack of certain skills, or maybe just the fact that there's so many other units that are similar to it, but just do its job better, but there's not really any real reason to take it. So, yeah. So let's get into the tier list. Perseers, very solid unit. I don't think I would say they're like the best line trooper, but they're pretty good. Um, I used to play Varuna a lot, so I'm a little biased towards Fusiliers. I think Fusiliers are somewhat better. But a lot of that comes down to the fact that Crusaders don't have a lieutenant option, which might not seem like a big deal, but it really is, because being able to take a cheap lieutenant and decoy and then build a core around that is kind of like a staple of a lot of sectorials. And not having access to that kind of makes them a little bit worse. They do somewhat make up for it with the fact that they have solid link options, so they can pure link with like order sergeants, or they can just normal link with Teutonic Knights. And they also have a paramedic, which is always good. And finally, they have a Spitfire with MSV2, which is a very notable profile because it has some really good application. I don't find myself taking it too often, but it's always nice to have the option to take that. Like, I think if I had a ton of Steel Phalanx players or something in my meta, I would probably take it a lot more often. Um, but I mean, I would maybe only have one, and usually my lists are varied enough that they can deal with something like that. So I'll just put the Crusaders in B tier because I think they're pretty solid. They're not amazing. They're not terrible. They're B tier. Um, let's see, Constantinos. So Constantinos, I find that one of his profiles is like C tier. That would be the infiltration one, hidden deployment. I don't really think it's that good, but I could see like I I mean I can visualize a game where it does really well. Um, I just can't see myself taking it ever. That being said, his normal profile is pretty solid. It's linkable, so it gives you a linkable disco baller with MSV2 and mimetism. Um, it does have a he does have a multi-rifle, which is not the worst gun. It's not the best gun, but it can do things. Um, and I think he also has an assault pistol. Yeah, so I think he does have a lot to offer. I would probably put him in B tier as well, just because he can link well, and any fire team he joins, he kind of is like a little bit of a backup shooter, and that's never a bad thing to have. So for that reason, yeah, I think he goes in B. Um, Onto the Knight Commander. Um, wow. Okay, so Knight Commander was probably maybe your best lieutenant option or second best lieutenant option in N4. These days, I don't really ever take him. It, it's really tough because if I do take him, it's because I want his extra lieutenant order, but that costs a SWIC, and it also is really expensive. I mean, like I think it's 28 points, and it's 28 points for a unit that does nothing. It it like doesn't really contribute to your list. Um, I mean, he's not like gunfighting or anything. His only really like real benefit is the fact that he can hollow mask. But like in MO, there's not like a lot of units you can really hollow mask him very well as because yeah, I mean I don't know. He's just really expensive and he doesn't really do a lot. Um, but at the same time, if you want to build a good NCO list, you kind of have to take him just for the extra order. So I think I put him in like C tier for situational. Like I th yeah, I think there's a use case for him like 100%. He can pure link with cuirassiers, which is great. And also he provides the +1 order to like the Knight of the Holy Sepulchre or the Teutonic or the Ceres. And that's not a bad thing, but yeah, I have a hard time justifying him like in any situation where I don't have an NCO. Um, the curator. Oh man. Okay, so this is kind of this is a little bit of the opposite situation as the Knight Commander. The curator in N5 is way better. So in N4, it was literally all the curator was a more expensive mech engineer who you were forced to take and had AP mines. And I just hated taking him so often. But in N5, she has a deployable marksman rifle turret, and it is so good. I probably like in most lists, even if I don't have like a tag or anything, I I usually find myself taking the curator with the marksman rifle, the arm turret marksman rifle, because it just it's so like having a reaction unit that doesn't cost you anything if it dies. It's just so good, and like baggage can refill it for free um, at at the start of your next turn. So yeah, I find myself a lot of times reaching for this profile just because of the defensive capability. Um, and I mean the fact that it's an engineer is great too, because you have a lot of HI and MO. So for that reason, I definitely put her. Uh, Probably an A tier, honestly. I don't know. I really like her. Some people would probably disagree with that, but I don't know. I find myself using the turret like in almost every single game, so I really like that profile. Um, yeah. So onto the order sergeants. Order sergeants are excellent. The combi rifle one, I don't ever take, because it's just not worth it. It's like it's a two more points, more expensive than a Cuirassier, and it's like you're not really paying for much, like +1 whip and BTS. Um, yeah, not really worth. And it just has a combi rifle. That being said, a lot of the other profiles are very good. So the HRL um can duo pure duo with some with a lot of other units. like the Infirmer and the Curator, for example. And that is really, really good because it provides you with like kind of a very cheap, I mean, it's 15 points. It does cost a swig, but it's only 15 points. It provides you for really cheap, like horizontal ARO that you can kind of use to stop um, like close to assault attack pieces because they're not going to be able to take that fight if it's out of like 16 inches. And it's just, yeah, it just offers a lot of flexibility. And on top of that, if all of your guns die, you at least have a burst 3 HRL. It's not amazing, but it can maybe do something. Um, and the hacker is pretty solid. It's a little expensive, but it has Whip 13, which is a premium in Pano, and it also has BTS 3. So like it's not terrible. It can do things, and it can link with Teutonics to get the tin bot. So it's by no means a bad unit, and that's not even to mention the escort sergeant profiles, which I don't. I think I've taken them maybe once or twice. I don't take them that often, just because they're a little expensive. Um, but I know a lot of people who swear by them and say that they're really amazing, and I believe them because Oxbots are truly pretty solid units. Um, but yeah, I think I put them probably in B tier. Um, they're very similar to Crociers, a line troop. I would say they're definitely actually a little bit better than Crociers, just because, yeah, they have a lot of really nice options. Oh, and also you can just take the HRL as like a reactive piece, and it's only 15 points. So it's really, really cheap. Um, moving on, instant S tier for the Raven Eye. I love the Raven Eye so much in MO. He just provides so much. Okay, Mind Layer, amazing. Um, Emerald, amazing. He's a specialist operative too. Like, and he's a forward observer, so he can do classifieds. He offers so much to MO, and he's really cheap. He's only 12 points. I think literally in every single list, I take a Raven Eye. I don't think I've ever not taken Raven Eye, just because it always does something in the game, whether or not it's like, sticking somebody with the mine, pushing a button, running up and emeroding Achilles, which I've done before. Yeah, he's just a really, 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 really good unit. These days, I prefer to take the Cybermind profile because, for those of you who don't know, Cyberminds now do stun ammunition and they do a mobilization B against any unit who is hackable. Um, but the amazing part about that is that any unit who has TI, so they're totally immune to ammunition, the Cybermine will still be able to stun them. And I think that's a really powerful defensive tool because TI units can oftentimes run through all of your arrows and just wreck your backline. But if you have something like a Cybermine, there's at least a possibility that you stop them. So that's why I take that one. But the EM mine is also really good. It's just more of a personal preference. Tech B, boom, goated, S tier, easy. Um, what I mean, what's there not to say, like love about it? So she has a deployable repeater. So if you're taking any hackers, you can use that. She has a glue gun, which is not the best gun in the game, but it is enough to where if you just get lucky somehow and you land the glue gun on somebody who's trying to kill her, you will just put them in immobilized A state. And yeah, it's just a big hassle to deal with that. It doesn't mean like she's invincible. Like people will still just run up, chain rifle her, make the save or whatever and like move on. Um, but she's only 9 points. She's a specialist. She has a gizmo kit, and I forgot to mention this with the Raven Eye, but very importantly, she has a deactivator, which deactivators were terrible in N4, but in 5 they're really good because it basically offers you a free way to get rid of a repeater Oftentimes it means you're going to get spotlit, but it means that your Raven Eye or your Tech Bee is getting spotlit, but your like super expensive Crux Knight isn't going to get isolated. Um, and that alone is a lot of utility. Um, so that's one big reason why I really love them. But I take those two units in like every single every single list. Just because they always have something to do, they always offer something, and if they can't, then they're just super cheap orders. So it's like, why not? Um, yeah. Anyway, moving on. War Core. Boom, A tier. Um, I I also really like the Workhorse. Um, it is a very good defensive unit. It is 3 points, so it costs literally nothing. Now they're specialists in this current season, which I'll take that. And very importantly, they have 360 visor and a flash pulse, which might not seem like a lot. But what it means is that you can set them up in a way to where they're watching a massive amount of your DZ, and anything that drops is at risk of getting instantly flash pulsed, even if they're TI. Um, so the flash pulse change was it made the flash pulse a little bit worse because it's not DA ammo, but it made it better because it can go through TI now. Um, and there are some really scary like TI droppers that will absolutely wreck you. I mean, there's really scary droppers, period. But none of them can really like if any of them take a flash pulse save, they're going to be clenching because if they lose that, then their guy is basically useless for their entire turn, and then they're just going to die on your active turn. So for that reason, I put them in A tier because I take them. Um, not every game, but in a lot of games. I mean, really, their only downside is the fact that they have an irregular order, but it makes you more or it makes you less cautious about putting them in on ARO. And I've had workhorse like save games before. It's so funny because they're like a 3 point model, but yeah, they've like flash pulsed. I think I actually had a workhorse flash pulse a cutter once on like a one. He like crit, and then the cutter missed his save, and it was just the most hilarious moment ever. But yeah, workhorse are great. Um, moving on. So these are Crusader Brethren. Um, yeah, so Crusader Brethren also used to be really bad in N4, much, 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 much better in N5. Now they have EM CCWs, which is great. And on top of that, they're also CC specialists. And then very importantly, their cheapest profile, or I think it's tied for the cheapest profile, has disco balls, and disco balls are really good in ammo. Um, and this is because in almost every single list I take, I probably have like three Spitfires and then maybe a couple of snipers. And while snipers are good long range, they sometimes can't really punch through a unit. And so you really need to be able to get like your fire teams rolling, get your fire teams moving up. And so basically having an airdropped disco ball is really nice. Um, that being said, I don't take them very often. I don't really know why. I mean, they're not bad. I can recognize that they're really good, and honestly, in a lot of games where I have taken them, they've performed very well. Oh, not to mention they have super jump too. That's very, very good. Um, yeah, I mean, I think on theory they're probably like an A tier unit, just because they have so much utility. Um, Uh, it's not really reflected in my playstyle because I don't take them very often, but I definitely recognize that they're a good unit, and a lot of people really, really like them. I mean, myself included. Yeah, I don't find myself taking them a lot, but they're very good. Infirmers, definitely B tier unit. They're not bad. They're a lot better than they used to be. They have martial arts now, and like, like decent CC. They're definitely defensible. They have enough CC to make a Fade think twice about running into CC with them. because the Fide could lose. Um, so yeah, for that reason, I'd say they're probably in B tier. I mean, they're a doctor. They're relatively cheap. They have pretty solid link options. But they're also like not amazing. You know, they're not gonna like necessarily change your game. So yeah, I'd probably put them like no, I think that's good. Probably behind Constantinos, because yeah, I think I probably would use an Infirmer less than Constantinos, but okay, next up Blackfriar. Definitely an A tier unit. Yeah, probably going above the curator. So, um, there are two profiles in particular that I really like. Some people like the multi-rifle profile. I don't really like that one very much because it's kind of expensive and it doesn't really do a lot. That being said, the HRL and the Thunderbolt are really, really good profiles. So this is kind of like an upgrade version of the Crosier Spitfire because it's got one more BS and it has an HRL which is less burst than a Spitfire, but it's a lot scarier and it almost acts as like an AP weapon. And for that reason, I think they're really good. They also have good link options. And yeah, I mean, there's not like a whole lot to say. They're just a really solid unit. They're just an MSV2 gunfighter. And there's nothing to hate about that because they definitely bring a lot to MO. Um, Next unit is the Knight of the Holy Sepulchre. Hmm. Yeah, I don't really use this unit like ever. It's not bad. It's just like I don't really see a use case for it. I know people like it, but it's worse than it used to be in N4 because of the Natural Born Warrior change. Um, I mean it is veteran, so like it has that going for it, and it's also an APHMG with surprise attack. So like it's not bad by any means. Oh, and it has NCO. It's just yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know why I don't ever take him. I mean, I guess it's probably because it doesn't link. And if I'm taking an unlinked gun, I probably want it to be a tag. And he is not quite a tag. In fact, the two tags MO has are really good, and he's definitely, mm, yeah, he's not as good. But I don't think he's like really bad. I'd probably put him in B tier. I think some people use him a lot and they get like a lot of good use out of him. I just personally don't really use him very often, but I recognize that he's a pretty solid unit. Um, I'd probably put him like above Konstantinos. Yeah. Um, Next one is Deferson. Deferson is really good. He is a wild card, so he's got really good link options. Um, yeah, I mean he's just a good all rounder. I think probably my only gripe with him is like I do really wish he had a non-Spitfire option because yeah, I mean um there are there are Spitfires in MO who either do the same thing as him and are cheaper or they do more than him and they're just a dedicated gunfighter. And he kind of falls like somewhere in the middle. Like he's in between basically a Krux and a Teutonic Spitfire. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, he's a hacker with Trinity, so it's very good. And BTS 6 and Whip 14. So like he's good. Um I just find it hard to make lists. I feel like if I make a list, it's kind of built around a person, whereas I don't feel that way with a lot of other expensive Spitfire options. Um Yeah, so I don't know. I do wish he had like a cheaper profile that had like the Trinity and Hacker, but like maybe it's like a multi rifle or something. At least for the Swick like the Swick decrease. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I like him. I don't really take him very often, but he's a good unit. I think I've taken him maybe twice in N5, and he's performed like well enough. Um, oh, and he doesn't have frenzy anymore, and that's a big benefit. But um, Yeah, I probably put him like top of B. He's like almost an A tier unit. Um, I think he just kind of gets a little bit out competed in N5. Um, so that's probably the only reason I put him in B. I think he's a good unit though. So don't get me wrong. Um, Hospitallers, they are vastly superior to what they were in N4 and N5, however. Hmm. Well, so their duos are really good. Um, I mean, the the duo I take all the time is a doctor and an HMG. I don't take them in every game, but I do take them pretty frequently. The thing is, like, okay, so they're frenzied, which means they're losing cover generally after turn one, because like I'm usually doing at least 1 point of damage with them. Um, and then yeah, I mean, besides that, they're just like a BS-14 gun. Um, I mean, they're slower than orcs, but they do have martial arts, and they're a little bit tankier with the higher BTS and higher whip. Yeah, I mean, I probably put them like right under Deferson. They're solid units. You're not gonna be like destroying your list if you take Hospitallers. I just personally, I think there are better knights, but I mean, I still take them because I think they have some links that they go into really well. I in a weird way, I don't really like the HMG as much, but I do really like the Doctor, because it has a multi-rifle. It's a Doctor, so it's a specialist, and it can heal people, can do classifieds, and it has like yeah, like that close range assault, which when you're frenzying, the close range doesn't really matter as much because a lot of units you're engaging in that close range, they're either a good unit who's on bad range bands, or they're a bad unit who's on good range bands. And if they're a bad unit on good range bands, you're probably going to win anyway. So, yeah, I mean, for that reason, yeah, I'd say they're like a really solid unit. Probably B tier. I don't think they're like amazing, but I think they're pretty solid. Normal Joan, D tier, easy. Yeah, I genuinely don't see any use case for normal Joan. Um, it's kind of funny because like in N4, normal Joan was like the only one that you took, uh, because she was just way tankier than mobility, and she just offered a lot more. Um, I mean, maybe there's a case for her in like vanilla. I don't think so. In N5 or sorry, in MO, there's definitely no. Yeah, I literally can't see like any reason to take her. She's super expensive. Um, like she's like 50 points, I think. And like if you're paying that much, you want your unit to be able to do something. Like she's not a specialist. She's not like a hacker or anything. She has like a decent gun. Um, but like it's not like a 24-inch range band. Yeah, I just yeah, I don't know. I can't see why I would take her. I mean, like she does give you the +1 swake, but you know, like at what cost, literally. So yeah. That being said, mobility Joan S tier, easy. She is so good. Tactical awareness, a lot of amazing lieutenant like kind of options. Um, AP Spitty, AP, 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 AP is so good. We love AP. Um, yeah, good link ability. I mean, not the best because she can basically only link with Hospitallers, but Hospitallers are pretty solid these days. And then you can throw in like a Knife Santiago with the tin bot, give her give her a firewall, and yeah, she's just so souped up. And honestly, even taking her, like I've taken the non-lieutenant version sometimes because she's just so good. Like inspiring leadership, like is so whatever on her now. Like that's not even a reason to take her. I don't even care about that because like her gun platform is just phenomenal. Um, yeah, definitely S tier unit. She's good in MO. She's even better in vanilla. So yeah, I think she's a very good unit. Kyle Hawkins is probably a D tier unit for me. I feel kind of bad because my boy, like he's a new profile. Well, new quote unquote. I mean, he came out like 2 years ago, I think. But he, yeah, he just like he has no legs. I mean, he has a multi-marksman rifle with AP, like whoop-de-doo. It's damage 7. It's not punching through anything. Um, like most, and it's also only burst. Like you're scoring a maximum of 3 hits with him. And I just, yeah, I really can't see a reason to take him. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've tried. I think I've tried him once, and he just didn't really offer my Link anything. And there are just so many Spitfire options in MO that you have to be adding something, you know? And I just don't see I just don't see a use case for him. Um, I mean, he had Berserk in N4, I think, and like Berserk was fine or was really good in N4, but in N5 it's just not what it used to be. It's definitely balanced and I like the change, but yeah, I just unfortunately I can't see a reason to take him. Um, so next unit, Knight of Justice. Oh man, okay, I love the Knight of Justice model. I I've tried so hard to make this unit work because I really do like the profile. I just it's yeah, I don't know. I can't make it work. Um, he is really he's rather expensive. He doesn't have like all of the skills and stuff that a lot of other units have. So like really you have things like the Crux Knight who have like Albedo, +1 SD, AP, higher damage. There's like every skill under the sun. And he's bringing a lot to the table and also not costing any swick for that. And he's basically the same cost. Like really, the only thing the Knight of Justice has going for it is the fact that it has BTS 9, which don't get me wrong, it's great. Like BTS 9, very good. But yeah, I just don't know how to use this unit. I mean, the hacker is probably the one profile that has a unique thing to offer because of the BTS 9. It's utilizing that BTS 9 really well because it's a hacker. It has a multi-rifle. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it does have really good link options. It's not nearly as expensive as it used to be in N4, but yeah, I mean, I put him under like situational. Like he, yeah, I want him to be good so bad. Like CB, if you're listening, please buff him. Like just give him a special skill or something. Um, I think he's a unit that's really close to being like alpha gunfighter type piece. He's just like missing like AP or like base attack -3 or something. Just something to make him like unique and like stand out. Um, okay, this is gonna be the hot take of this century. Um, well, not this profile. So this one I would say is probably like a C tier, situational. I don't really put a lot of stock into units who can forward deploy without camouflage. Um, I mean, to be honest, you're just asking to get like isolated or immobilized or shot. They have mimetism, great. If they're impetuous, they don't get cover. Yeah, I mean, I just like I don't know. I don't really see myself ever taking this profile. I think I took one once at the beginning of N5 just to try it out. Didn't really do anything. So yeah. I mean, you either get turn one and it can do well, um, or you get turn two and you have to deploy it in your DC. And you're basically, yeah, I don't know. If it was linkable, that would be a totally different story. If this unit was linkable, I would take it all the time. Because it's cheap, it's a specialist, it's got mimetism. But the fact that it's not linkable kind of kills the unit for me. Um, yeah. Motorized D tier. Um, yeah, I mean, this is the hot take, but I didn't really like Montestas before. I used to take them though for armory because they were really good in armory, but I just, I, I, I don't know. I can't cope with the fact that they can't dismount. Like, I don't know if it's just my local meta or the fact that I play on IGL, but not being able to access roofs is just terrible. Like your CC, like your CC unit, like you gotta be able to get into CC and smack people, or at the very least shoot them. I mean, not that I would necessarily recommend it because like they're not that amazing at shooting. I mean, they're pretty good, but they're not that great. I just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really, I don't find it like a worthwhile profile. Really the only one is like the paramedic, but it's like, okay, why are you taking the paramedic Montesa when he can't go prone? He's just gonna get like die on turn one. When you can just take a Trinitarian. Like he does the exact same thing. He'll push the button for you. And not only that, but he can also do like 60 different classifieds. So yeah, unfortunately, Montesa is out of the picture for me. If they change bikes back, he'd definitely go like in B tier, um, or A tier even. But I really don't think that like, yeah, I think the fact that they can't dismount just kind of kills the unit. Um, okay. Mendoza. I probably meant put Mendoza in C. I have taken him. He did really good. He was really lucky, but he did really good. Um, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, he doesn't have stealth, and he's a forward deployed HI, and he has a short range gun. Um, I just like, yeah, I mean, I mean, first off, he doesn't really offer that much of a like. I mean, he's a shooter, like we're MO, we got plenty of shooters. He has mimetism, which is kind of like his unique thing, and continuous damage, which also excellent. But he's really expensive. The forward deployment, you're gonna get use out of that every other like game. Because if you lose the lieutenant role, you really can't afford to put him forward. Otherwise, he's just gonna get crumped. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like you can use him. He's not a bad unit. I just don't. Well, yeah, I mean that's the other thing. He's slow. Like if you start him in the DZ, he's unlinkable, and then he has to walk his way all the way up the midfield. And like, yeah, I mean I don't know. I just like I yeah, I really like his model. I really like his profile, but in reality, I just don't really think it really fits together. If he had stealth, he'd probably be a lot better. Or like maybe if he had like 6'2" or super jump or something like that. Um, there's definitely like he's kind of very similar to the Knight of Justice, where I think he is probably one skill away from being a very good unit. But as he stands right now, I think yeah, he's just not quite that good. Um, Santiago, boom, S tier. I love Santiago's. I love them so much. The lieutenant is just great. Like it's great because it's a free slick. Who doesn't like free slick? I like free slick. I play Pano, you play Pano. We all love guns. And we need the slick. Um and so like being able to take a lieutenant who gets that slick for free is phenomenal. Um I mean, there's like a billion other things. So he's got decharges. He's an elite troop. He has EM grenades. He is quite sufficient in CC, where nobody like really wants to take that fight unless you're like martial arts level 5, and even then, shrug. Um, he's tanky, like yeah, and then I mean he's a wild card. He can duo. I don't know. They're so good, and uh, just like to compound that, the KHD profile is also so good. The KHD is cheap. It's got a 10 bot. It's got a multi rifle. I forgot to mention they have 360 visors, so you sling them up to the midfield. They're probably gonna get frenzied. Who gives a freak? You're just gonna like ball up, shoot people. Yeah, I mean they're just so good. Literally every single game, I've brought them as a duo with the KHD and the Lieutenant Spitfire. They always do something. They always do something meaningful. Um, and they're just not even that expensive either. Like, yeah, like 30 around like 35 points. Like, yeah, I mean, I love these units so much. Also their models are chef's kiss, just so good. Okay, enough of that. Moving on to Teutonics. A lot of people think Teutonics are trash. I still like Teutonics a lot. Um, I find myself using probably at least one in every single list. Why, you might be asking? Well, they're cheap. They're really, really cheap. They're like 18, their cheapest profile is 18 points. They have tin bot access, excellent. They have Panzerfaust, which can get you out of a tight bind. Um, yes, they are impetuous, so they lose cover. Um, well, they're limited cover, but that doesn't really matter, um, because for the short range guys, so the light shotguns and the SMGs, it doesn't matter that like they lose cover because you're just running in and like either CCing people or you're just shooting to be able to get into CC. And then on the flip side, if you take the Spitfire, he is he's got enough burst to be a competent gunfighter, and then on top of that, um, you can take him solo, and he's actually better than he used to be because now he gets armor bonus from cover when he used to not. And so like you basically have two free orders, the Impetuous and the NCO, um, to just run your Spitfire up the field. And not to mention they still dodge on like 17s and they're still competent CC fighters. They're pretty like tanky. I mean, yeah, they're just good. Like there's nothing not to like about them. Yeah, like the Spitfire isn't as good as it used to be in the Harris team or the core, but like they're still excellent profiles. I mean, they used to be S tier, but they're probably like A tier now. I probably put them like there, right there. Crux Knight is definitely an S tier unit. Um, I would say the only thing that keeps the Crux Knight from being the best like unit in the game, well, not the game, but in MO, is the fact that it's only AVA one. I mean, come on, CB, why you gotta do us like that? But um, yeah, I think I probably put it like this. Yeah, so okay, so things to say about the Crux. Albedo is really good. Albedo is really good because it allows you to not take smoke. Well, disco ballers. It allows you to not take disco ballers because usually the scariest units against MO are like those long range snipers, specifically Pano. I'm looking at you. Things like the Blair, very scary, right? But Albedo puts you on an even fight with them, and then to compound that, you're BS 14, and then you're also shooting 5 dice if you're in a link team. Just so good. Yeah, I mean, he's just such a good tech piece. So he's just a good flat out shooter. He has albedo. His multi-marksman rifle is damage 5, so it really makes it like way better than a normal multi-marksman rifle because it means you can punch like really heavy tags and like reliably kill them in a way that like a normal multi-marksman can't. That 2 damage makes a big difference. He is very good in CC. I forgot that he has Natural Born Warrior, but he does. So he's on like 25s all the time. I mean, he's not like the best CCer in the game, but he is definitely good enough to make people like not really want to like fight him. Um, which that's kind of the purpose. Um, he's got a multi-pistol, so he can shoot people within 8 inches. And very, 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 very importantly, he has +1 SD, which means that in a link team, he's burst 3 on reactive. That's crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to like describe how good that is, but he's a very defensible unit. He's got BTS 6, which is excellent. Yeah, he can tank hacks and stuff. And then finally, he's free, free for Swig, that is. So he doesn't cost any Swig, which is excellent. I mean, yeah, it just means you can take more like tech pieces that cost Swick, and it doesn't really like destroy your list because you've got an amazing gunfighter who doesn't cost Swick. So, there are other Crux profiles. I don't really ever take them. The Spitfire is just like a certified Y. It's just strictly worse. Yeah, I mean, there's literally no reason to take the Spitfire. Um, it literally just gives you +1 burst, but the cost of that is not worth at all. Um, the strategic deployment one is pretty nice. I don't really use it, but because it is rather expensive. But some people really like it, and I'm not gonna knock you for that. If you want to like pay the extra 6 points, and you think you can get good use out of it, that's your prerogative. The hidden deployment ones, they're okay. I mean, not much to say about them. I've not used them, but I can't imagine they're like insane. Um, okay, Seraphs, I'd say it's an A tier unit. When the profile first got released, everybody was like crying and weeping because they thought it was the end of Infinity. Um, it's not. I've used both the Spitfire and the HMG twice. Um, yeah, I mean, combat jump or not combat jump, super jump is very good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not what people make it out to be. They're gonna have like some random Panzerfaust in the back line that's like got this weird angle, and if you super jump, like you already know he's gonna crit you out of cover, and you're just gonna get blown up. Um, that's definitely never happened to me. But yeah, it's just like he's don't get me wrong, Ceres is really good. It's just not a unit that I like feel like I have to take in every single list. Um, that being said, I mean, again, like I can't say it enough. It's really good. It's gonna be able to do a lot. It is more expensive than the tick, and it is technically worse at shooting. Just because it doesn't have mimetism, but it does have a multi rifle, or sorry, no, a multi HMG. Um, it has an AP Spitty and then the Oxbot, which is also excellent. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a good profile. It's really good. And also, like, it is very capable of defending itself in CC. In fact, really nobody wants to fight it unless you have like a mono CCW, because if you lose the fight once, you're gonna get pasted. Like explosive with like damage like 3, I think. I can't remember, but like yeah, it's not a good fight for like a majority of CC fighters. So yeah, he's really good, really good unit. The tick also A tier. I'd put it like right under the Seraphs. Losing AP really sucks. Um, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I've used the tick a fair amount, and it's still goated. Like the HMG is gonna blast people, you know. It's just gonna work. Um, and people I think don't really they kind of discount the fact that oh like it doesn't have AP so it's trash now. Like no. I mean it's a mimetic BS15 tag like it's gonna do work. Um but yeah, it's just not as good as it used to be. I really wish that the +1 LT tick was an MO because that would be really cool. But it's not. So what you gonna do? Suffer. But yeah, it's a good tag. There's not really much to say. If you played N4, you know how good it is. If you play KFC, you know how good it is. So yeah. Okay. Peacemakers, Volunteers. Um, I forget which one this is. Uh, yeah, Volunteers. Oh, okay. Volunteers are excellent. Yeah, definitely A tier unit. I probably put them like right in front of the curator. So yeah, I mean, I meant not MSV. Mimetism -6. It's a very good skill. It's gonna get you far. The Spitfire is gonna get you far. Um, personally, I never take the HSG because I don't think it's that good. But Spitfire is very good. And then you can also throw in like an Evo bot. Evos get tons of bonuses throughout a ton of missions, and they also have a lot they can do. Like they can throw fairy dust on units. They can help your combat jumpers. I mean, they're very versatile. Oh, and their baggage. And that's just amazing because baggage is just such a good skill these days. That yeah. All that to say, the bull tier is really great. It can link really well. So if you have a list that uses it, you're definitely going to see just how much work the bull tier can do. I played a match in a tournament the other day. The bull tier just rolled up and just like domed a Trinitarian, easy. Um, because it like he can just do that. He's got mimetism, so he's putting people on like really bad odds. They can get repaired very easily because we have good like Gizmo kit and engineer access. So yeah, I think it's just overall a very solid unit. Um, Clippers, D tier. Don't ever take Clippers in MO, I guess. I mean, they're just really like I mean, you're taking Clippers for one of two reasons. They can either link, which they can't in MO, or you're using them for GML. And um yeah, I don't know how to say this, but MO is not a hacking faction. We can do it, but not very well. And our defensive hacking capability is pretty solid, but our offensive hacking ability is not very good. No pitchers, and our all of like our repeaters are hackable units. So if you're getting into like repeater range of a unit, they're probably going to hack you back. So yeah, overall, I don't particularly think these guys are very usable in MO. Um, Fugazis. Yeah, I mean Fugazis are solid. They're like I mean A tier unit. You're probably taking a Fugazi in like every single game almost. Like it's just 7 points for Flash Pulse with Mimetism. It's always good, and it's also a repeater. Yeah, I mean there's really no reason not to like it. I mean there's not a lot to say about it. I already said a lot about like how Flash Pulses are a little bit better in N5 in my opinion. But yeah, good unit. You're gonna take them all the time. Evo bot, Evo and baggage bot. Also A tier. Um, I mean, I feel weird putting bots in A tier because it's not like they're game changers, right? Like your mule bot is not running up and like shooting, 15 orders worth of units, but it's providing a lot of necessary support to the list. Baggage, like these two guys definitely go hand in hand. So if you're taking the curator with the marksman turret, then you're taking a baggage bot because you need it. Um, so yeah, baggage bots are good. And then Evo bots specifically, they have a lot of good application, especially because bulleteers can link well. So you're really able to put that guided fire, I think is what it's called, on the bulleteer. So yeah. Power bots, um, sure. C tier situational. I don't know. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, like, okay, I don't really take Palbots that often in MO. It's kind of a coin flip. Like, the curator has really good link options. So a lot of times I don't find myself taking a Palbot because I want to link my curator. But if you're taking a tag, uh, or like you're taking like two Sierras, for example, you probably want to take the Palbot. So it's really just situational. Like sometimes you take it, sometimes you don't. It's whatever your list calls for, really. But I mean, they're 3 points. They do their job. Um, Pathfinders, Pathfinders are very good. Um, Where would I put a Pathfinder? I'd probably put them like right above Bolt here. So Pathfinders are really good because they're FO bots. They have sensor. That's all already really good. So they're just fast specialists. But on top of that, they have a new profile with tactical awareness, which is very good. Um, you're paying 17 points, but you're getting like an extra order, and yeah, it's just really, really nice. I find myself like kind of slapping the Pathfinders in whenever I have the opportunity, just because they can just add a lot of like specialist capability to your list. So for that reason, I think they're a pretty worthwhile trooper. Um, Peacemakers, I'd probably put them in like B tier. Um, yeah, so um, their mine layer profile is very good. I used to really hate Peacemakers. Now that they can mine lay, they're definitely much better because they're at least doing something. They're still a little expensive, like 23 points, I think. And really, like, their biggest issue is not that they're hackable, it's that their bases are huge. So if you're trying to put these guys in the midfield, they're just going to be able to get shot from like any angle. Um, like the mine does help with that because you can kind of place the mine in the Oxbot around the Peacemaker in a way that it's like guarding its flanks and keeping it from getting shot. But yeah, that being said, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I only ever take one if I do, and usually if I'm taking one, it's because I have like a hacking list. So yeah, um, that's enough said about the Peacemakers. Sierras, hmm, Sierras. Yeah, no, I put them like above Peacemakers maybe. So Sierras are good. I'm gonna get into why I don't really like Sierras and MO, but Sierras are just a solid unit. Like a TR bot is always solid. They rarely die. Like, well, I mean, sorry, they go unconscious all the time, but they rarely get like shot off the map, which means you can heal them, which means that you can then again pray to the dice gods that you crit. Um, and you know what? They do crit a lot, and they can be a real pain in the butt for a lot of people. Um, for that reason, I think that they're definitely like at least a pretty solid unit, like in B tier. It's not like an A tier unit where I see myself taking it like 75% of the time, but yeah, I really, really, really do like Peacemaker or Sierras though. And their new Thunderbolt profile is really nice. It gives you the option to take a good ARO unit without having to spend Swick, and that's nice. It won't kill stuff though, so just know that your Sierra will probably not kill anything on any turn. But it's still yeah, it's also nice that you can't be outranged. Yeah, I mean, there are a few times where like a sniper will try to like put you on a neg 15, neg 12, and they can't really do that as easily if you're zero range bands. So yeah. Um, okay. Finally, well, second to last, we've got Dart. Dart's definitely an A tier unit. I used Dart pretty recently. Probably put her right behind Teutonic. Um, yeah, I mean, she's just a really good skirmisher. She's got effectively two wounds. She has EM grenades, so she's really scary for for tags. She's got a SMG, which it's worse because it's not AP or shock anymore, but it's still fine. I mean, most of the time you're shooting like order generators like in the back. And then the MSV is just nice, and the Mitsum is nice. She's just good. I mean, yeah, climbing plus is definitely worse than it used to be. So like she's definitely not as good as she used to be. Like she was probably the top of A now she's like middle of A. Um, but she's still excellent. So there are a lot of games in which I would take Dart. And she's also kind of like one of your only dedicated attackers. I mean, obviously, like a lot of units can go on the attack, on the offensive, but Dart in particular is very good at that because she's starting in the midfield. She's got camouflage state, so overall, solid unit. Finally, Trinitarians. Yes, S tier for me. Um, wow, I might even put them above Santiago's, maybe. No, I wouldn't. But I'll put them like almost at the top. So here's the thing. Um, you might be thinking that I'm putting the Trinitarians here because of their forward observed profile, but you would be wrong. I'm putting them here because of their sniper profile. I love their sniper profile. As I already stated, I was a Varuna player, so I used Helots all the time. Abusing camo to make your opponent's life a living um, bad place is it's just it's my bread and butter. I love it using like yeah, I love using TO snipers. And Trinitarians are 25 points. That's right, 25 points. They're so cheap. Like yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. They're so good. Like against unit or against armies like Toha, Hack, and Ariadne, they they will lock down the board for you. I've played a couple of games against Hack in IGL, and in two of them, I vividly remember my Trinitarians locking down the board because Hack cannot take those long range fights, especially against a -6 gunfighter. And it like that in itself, just like forcing your opponent to spend at least an extra 2 orders cautious moving around is so good. Um, I mean, their FO profiles are excellent as well. Like they can do so many class fights, and that in itself is obviously amazing. Um, so I'm not like discounting the FO profile. I just personally I find like I take two snipers in every single list. It's 50 points. It's 3 Swick, but it always gives me insane value. Um, and I thought I was kind of on crack for a little bit, like at the beginning of N5, but then I played in a local tournament and then I played in IGL, and they just continue to be like such a successful unit. So, I mean, for that reason, they're just going straight into S tier. Um, yeah, so that's basically all I have. Um, yeah, I mean, MO doesn't really have a lot of bad units. A lot of the units that are bad are that way because they're just too expensive and they don't really do anything, or they're just outcompeted, or they have some sort of rules mechanic that makes them not very good in my opinion, like the motorized bounty hunter or the motorized Montessa. Yeah, and then the Clipper is just like, yeah, I mean, it's like not a bad profile. It's just like you don't really take it at MO because you don't really play hacking lists, and 1.5 Swick on a Clipper is not really worth it in my opinion. You want to be using your Swick elsewhere. But yeah, well, that is it for me. Let me know how you like the video, if you like the video. And yeah, hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.